Daima came out. Talking to other creators when we made Daima content, nobody cared. Really low views. Nobody cared until Monkey. Then suddenly every loudmouth got an opinion. This is Dragon Ball's life cycle. Toriyama does comedy and some adventure stuff, mild interest. And then new hair color. People in the streets from Mexico to Chile have a hype riot and start chasing one another down on all fours like feral beasts, and the weakest are cold in the blood mists of the anime purge. Presumably. I mean, I would. Then Toei wraps its lips around the muddy udders and suckles. Violent, rapid tugs on Goku's cash nipples. Until the hair color runs dry. It's a lucrative business. Very lucrative. Let's face it, Dragon Ball has no value at all besides transformations. Yeah, it's true. Sure, we'll laugh when Bacterian smears his gorilla paws into his groinal grease pit and chases Krillin around the ring, or feel a tinge of human compassion when Trunks realizes the alternate history version of his master is living a happier life than the tragedy he had to survive through. But let's be honest, we can't complete without a new hair color. Someone has to scream in anger and glow somewhere new on the RBG wheel. Only then can we cock back our heads, eyes pointing in opposite directions, and howl with illiterate ecstasy. You unthinking beast. Yeah, it's red or something this time. Exciting stuff. Now that Mr. Toriyama has passed away, we'll need to pace the future of Dragon Ball. If we run out of new forms, then Dragon Ball has no value anymore. That means rationing our hair colors, which Goku isn't great at. The Ramona Flowers of anime is so special. The world revolves around his hundreds of disposable relationships, and the world needs to know how vital and independent he is. So first, let's list out what marketing powers we've used up already. Black. Default. Normal. Oh, I could project onto this all day. Goku grew this himself. Good work, son. Fun fact, when Vegeta says Saiyan hair stays the same from the day they're born, he doesn't mean it never grows back. He means it just ends up growing back into the same style. The same series of Toriyama triangles that he made his assistants ink. Like an injection mold. Then came yellow. Gold, if you're pretentious. Coincidentally, Toriyama went with yellow so his assistants wouldn't have to fill in the hair anymore. But Goku wasn't always a towhead. His most ancient design concept for Super Saiyan was for Goku to have white hair and red eyes, which he didn't use. Not yet, anyways. Also, you can throw in a sort of yellowish white in here as well. This was back in the era of fluffy hair, which I personally loved. Man, Trunks' hair was so good looking in his intro episode. Then it just got worse and worse and worse. They started drawing it weird. Then he got like the hair antlers. Oh god, get him off the screen. Ew, ew. Okay, so far black and yellow. There's also a sort of brown if you want to count that one time Arale went Super Arale in the Dr. Slump anime. I don't, you might. Freak. Of course, later we get these slightly sharper triangles and sparky sparks. Even Toriyama forgot 2 was a form and thought 3 was 2. Also, it's not a color and there's too much of that crap, so I'm ignoring it. But in a pinch, we can use it as a marketing power-up, so bear it in mind. We've also got sort of a pinkish dark red thing from the filler when Goku uses Super Kaioken for like 2 seconds. I'm sorry, Super Kaioken. Pretty neat. You can make a form look a little different by pouring an aura over it, which they remembered in Dragon Ball Super but took it way too far, so it just looked like garbage. Another lesson to remember. And of course, because of giant marketing baby, we got sort of a greenish yellow. Wah, a baby cried one time in the same room. I'm a god now. Wah. You know, the legendary form, or Super Saiyan Type B. While we're here, how did Broly even learn what Kakarot's name was anyway? They were babies. Did he lean out of the crib and read? Did the memory haunt him so much that as soon as he learned to speak, he asked Paragus who that little goblin next to him was? If so, why would Paragus even know, much less remember? Even if he did, why was he regaling his son with tales of babies whose name he knows? Man, anime is stupid. Anyway, here's some artist horse hockey. When you desaturate yellow, it looks green pretty easily. And when you lower a green's light value, it starts to look yellowish to our animal eyes. You can get a brown almost instantly if you drop it too low. With Broly, they actually used a high red value green, which is a little close to the yellow part of the spectrum, and then used a slightly stronger green with a high light value to give the impression of gold hair. Why am I mentioning this? Mainly because I'm an artist and I want to. And also, if you're coloring Ramona's hair, you gotta think of stuff like this. Point being, it's not greenish yellow, it's technically just green. There's no yellow in it, but not too green. Also, there's green with sparky... Alright, we're not doing this. But while we're on Broly, you might also count the magenta, purple, black hair he has before he's a true Super Saiyan. This is sometimes called Super Saiyan A-type, or faux Super Saiyan, or pseudo Super Saiyan, or wrathful, but only in the Super Broly version. Hey, by the way, count yourself lucky I'm covering colors in all of the various forms, because there's literally over 100 of those stupid things. Including whatever Gohan got. His mystic, ultimate ascended old man dancing whatever form. And that's like a silvery black sometimes. Red. Red fur? Red god? Red in general. Although the fur on 4 is kind of pink. Looks a little tasty, like a cherry popsicle. Do you want Goku's push pop? Oh, don't say anything. I know you do. Rather famously, Vegeta sort of grows his chest meat out over his A shirt when he hits 4, then regrows the shirt when he reverts back. You know, for the same reason when they use the Potaro in Super again, Gogeta is still wearing Vegeta's clothing from the Buu saga, because that's what their toy looks like. So when you're making these designs, sometimes the clothing is part of the form itself and doesn't work so great without it. Goku's monkey form needs those yellow pants. His fur color would blend too much with the orange. If you kept the orange, the fur would need to be lighter, and you'd have to move the color more into the magentas to retain the red, but avoid conflict with the yellow side of the spectrum. It would also help to space out the design with more contrasting tones, so if he just so happened to have big monkey paws with no fur on them, that would help distinguish form in the animation. That's why they gave old cartoon characters gloves. But we're not talking about hand condoms. Not yet. We're talking about hair. Landscape first, size second. Remember, kids. And Gogeta gets red, sort of burnt orangey red hair. And his body hair... Body hair? Ooh, it's body hair. Gets dark brown. You know, for similar design reasons. Like chocolate. Chocolate monkey. And then, of course, we get Asspole Blue. Lovely shade. There's a silvery blue in the manga because that's perfected blue. Ooh, classy. Also, Vegeta gives this really blue. They shifted its hue away from the greens and towards the purples, then dumped an aura over it. That's good marketing. But that came later. First, there's pink. Because when you turn Super Saiyan using God Ki, you get pink hair, apparently. In the anime, of course. In the manga, he gets normal gold hair for a while, then makes it pink because he's horned up like that. Or something. Honestly, Toyotaro probably just wanted to escalate to the pink hair instead of just jumping right into it. It's best not to think about it. Or about most things. Man, life is better when your brain is empty. Anyway, back to Dragon Ball. And of course, when Goku really blows his load and steps across the boundary of the gods into the realm of ultimate marketing, we get white. Well, first sort of gray. Sort of an offset black, really, due to the rim lighting, when he's in Omen. And then later white, or silver, or platinum, or cream. Also, it's worth pointing out that his hair sort of wants to get a little morning chub, you know. It's a little happy to see you. And although we're talking about color, the shape of the hair is a big part of the marketing. But we'll get there. Vegeta in the manga gets taught Hakaishin stuff. Spoilers! Then he gets chunky monkey brows and purple hair. Good luck for him. A lot of his color scheme works best when there's dark tones framing his features. And that gets lost when his hair lightens. So this sort of dark plum color is a good design choice. A shame he still jobs, but such is the life of Vegeta. And then white again. Gohan repurposes the original Super Saiyan design concept, remember that? You did! Good job! Something I like to point out here is that Super Saiyan 2 sucks. Except for one time. and it was because Gohan's entire fit was designed around one hairstyle. So when we see 2 again, not as cool. I mean, are they using it? Who knows? And when Gohan uses whatever again, black, blonde, silvery black, whatever, not as cool. So what do? Give him the same look, scaled up to his adult model sheet. Looks way better. Personally, too high rise for my taste. It's getting very Mount Olympus up here, but we'll see more of that in a few minutes. Also, technically, this is like the 3rd white hair design because Baby Vegeta had white hair in GT. Also, he looked terrible, except for this in-between form he had for a few seconds. There's too much to cover as to why he looks so bad with white hair, but it's because of his model geometry, color theory, and overall vibe. Do kids still like that stupid word? We still doing that? Okay. But that brings us all the way back around to Daima, and Toriyama's redesign of Super Saiyan 4. Red monkey. Which makes some people angry, because not black hair, like childhood. Yeah, I've got an opinion on that, but who cares what I think, though? So anyway, my opinion is that, yeah, I like black hair on this design better. But it's a better design idea for it to look red. One, it's sort of equivalent to the God form, sure, but it's also a better overall choice of colors for a primitive-looking form, because it keeps the design's hue unified with the body hair. Body hair, still gross. But you don't want the body hair to be completely black. That's not what I'm about. Just a carpet of glistening black body hair looking back at me. No, sir. No, sir. I don't care for that. I feel like they started with the black head hair on the GT design and then chose a body color to pair with it. The black hair does help with creating model form distinction in the same way gloves on cartoon characters do, though, but the profile of the hair does enough. And I still think the entirely red look is a better design choice, even if most people would prefer black. Sometimes when you design things, you have to separate what you prefer and what looks cool from what is thematically appropriate or useful. It's not a clear choice, though, which makes me think it may have just been because of a desire to distinguish this version from GT. Just a guess, though. Also worth pointing out, red eyes, old design, yellow eyes, and green eyes for Vegeta. Why? Because GT's designs are more design toys than forms, so just, do whatever. The gold matches Goku's pants and makes his overall look a bit brighter, especially in those 1/4 bust shots. Vegeta's green eyes match a more cool palette and his darker design, while still being abnormal enough to register as primal and striking. Blue wouldn't quite have the same effect, for example. Certain colors do that. Green, gold, red, sort of a celeste hue sometimes. Unnatural human eye colors that have high lightness values. Purples and dark blues don't pop quite as much. You can do more with the eyes by changing the surrounding colors, which is part of why the old design had the red eyeliner. When you apply a darker color next to a lighter color, especially white, it makes it pop. And red matched the design tone while also looking dangerous. If you use black, it may just register as being makeup. And we're done. That's all the hair colors, I think. May have lost track, but damn, it's a lot. Also, there were a ton of Super Nico Majin designs, but no sense exploring all those. Okay, that's a lot of colors. Let's just... Oh, don't mind that drawing. How embarrassing. Okay, so, hair colors so far. Let's go around the wheel. Yellow, light green, light blue, dark blue, kind of purple, magenta purple, pink, red, burnt red, chocolate, black, gray, cream. That's all of them. All the colors. They're already used up. However, if we zoom past the Wall Maria of Goku's, every design has a bias that naturally shapes one's identity. We must see the pattern to find the single correct needle amongst countless millions, and thread it accurately to find an RBG value we haven't seen a million times before. What do we got? We got sort of an indigo blue-purple, kind of. Like if Vegeta was using destruction, but it was like perfected blue, you know, a form of the land. For stupid people. Also, lavender, you know, Princess Trunks hair, smells like strawberries. That's fairly unique, kind of. Also, there's an especially green. You know all that BS I said about green looking like yellow? And you believe me? Well, that's actually true. But you can make it neon green. Terrible looking. Which is why it's never been used. It's genius! Also next door, there's sort of a light blue-green, seafoam green, or, yeah, like a mint. Hey, once they teach Broly God Key, he could use this stupid color and have minty fresh breath. You know, for kissing Chilai. Maybe Limo, as a reward for being a food slave. You could even bring its values down into a dark teal. If we ignore Arale, we could use brown. I'll leave a note here to make a joke about brown lightsabers or something. I'll get to it later. And yeah, we could make it rainbow or add stripes if we're really on the ropes. Like Z-Core. But Z-Core looks bad. No one would actually include Z-Core, right? Oh no! The person who designed Z-Core is calling from inside the house. Oh well. Also, there's orange like a push pop. And I'll give orange this. No one's got it yet. Closest is GT Gogeta, and that's more of a red. Does it look good? Well, look up Super Saiyan in any color, and you'll find some examples from DeviantArt or Tumblr or whatever. And I'll say the answer is no. And especially on Goku, he'd turn into a literal carrot. And hey, maybe that's his final form. Kakaroto. Orange on orange really brings out his stupid face. Did you know the color orange was just called yellow-red into the late 1400s? We didn't have a name for it, and its name came from orange trees. Well, I'm sorry, you don't like learning? So, look, these are all bad in concept. However, green is bad in concept. And it looked okay on Broly. But that's what artists are for. They know how to complement and offset in color theory to balance the terrible and turn it into moderately okay. Like this video. I have a Patreon, by the way. You know that stupid internet dress? You know those stupid internet pictures about how the color you're seeing is actually a totally different color? When you're an artist, you can do all sorts of things that make you angry. And that's one way we can get new forms. Just start throwing crap on Goku. Beards. Capes, just like the original God form idea that was bad. Bald. More bald. And beard. People really like Cumber until the mask came off. Looks sort of like Black Super Saiyan 3. Masks, Bring back Super Saiyan 4 as the base and start throwing paint on that thing. Blue monkey, yellow monkey. Oh, we already had gold monkey. But like people monkey, not big monkey, wee monkey. Ugly green monkey is an option. Festive autumnal monkey, orange monkey. White monkey, black. Okay, yes, I see the problem. I guarantee you all of these exist online already. The ideas are as vast as they are bad. Turbans! Let Goku appropriate Nam's culture in exchange for water or something. Giant Goku. Damn, they did that already. Several times, actually. Pregnant Goku. He's pregnant when he transforms. He's pregnant, guys. He's strong. He's so strong. Do like fusion, but in reverse. So he splits into weaker Gokets. One is named Go. I won't spoil who the other one is. And they get outfits, but it's less clothes because it's defusion. Female Goku. Now we're talking. That's the best one so far. Pregnant masked female Goldwing defused Supreme Court Justice for Gogeta. You can do anything. Anything. You can do anything. If you don't care that the Lord will cast you into the lake of fire at the end of time. That's so far away. It probably won't happen anyway. And Goku needs this. Hair colors are bad. I hate this video. But as I've been pointing out, hairstyles also matter. And we all know that old song and dance. You got normal, super uppies, spiky uppies, long uppies. When we got Omen, we got normal uppies. And ever since Superhero, now we're getting really long spiky uppies. Vegeta's 3 form in Daima got that treatment too. He looks like a Sonic character with those Daima proportions. Does he look cool? No, well, kind of. In an embarrassing way. He's embarrassingly cool. Like Sonic. I mean, people say Shadow the Hedgehog is cool, and step away from that for a moment. He's this stupid-looking, doofy little peanut body with a huge head and noodle arms with Bugs Bunny gloves. He's lame! He's a loser! Oh, so cool, though. What if we just gave Goku a P90? It worked for Stargate. In Heroes and other crap, they just glue Goku's Super Saiyan 3 hair onto anyone with 3. Pretty boring, so I appreciate there being something. Also, I love the idea of Bulma thinking he looks ridiculous in that form, and that being the reason he never uses it again. Although, they didn't do that. They did several things in Daima they shouldn't have that would have made canon less weird, but I don't think they care. Point being, if we iterate hair lengths and colors, we can get new forms that way too, and some of them actually don't look too embarrassing. Unless you remember that you're consciously watching anime, but that's what closed doors are for. So something I wanted to point out is that Omen was more popular than Ultra Instinct at the time. Maybe it still is, I don't know. Because the look was more intense. And I think they registered that internally because in the manga, Torotoro tried to fold in the idea that Goku might get more use out of having the Omen look for a while. And that's something I was thinking a lot about right before we got Ultra Instinct, which people assumed would be white at the time. Because there's one very specific form that we've never quite gotten that I know for a fact people love. That's Goku, with the normal Super Saiyan style, but with all black hair. We've sort of seen it once accidentally during the PyCon filler because it was originally animated as Super Saiyan and they altered it in post to fit a later part of the narrative. It's also sort of there during the Lord Slug fight too. It also shows up sometimes during transformations to show sort of an interstitial stage. But oddly, it's never been its own thing. It's an okay option. I think very dark colors work best on most of these forms. Black, darker reds, saturated magenta, adjacent purples, Vegeta's perfect blue form if it didn't have all that repulsive aura around it. So here's my lesson. All this crap is already on DeviantArt because designing a new form is more than just barfing a color onto Goku's hair and calling it a day. It is very easy to get this wrong, and maybe more importantly, it's very easy to make something that looks cool but is in no way unique. Daima's weird monkey proportions and the red color are good choices. Most people wouldn't make those choices. Vegeta's weird hedgehog hair is a good choice. Most people would have just replicated whatever they saw in the Buu Saga. Ultra Instinct or Beast probably would have just been Super Saiyan with white hair. You can do anything, but you shouldn't do most things. That's why certain colors haven't been used yet. They aren't great ideas because you have to design around them. Orange is such a tertiary color visually that it didn't even have a name in most cultures until recently. Its complementary colors are specifically dark blue purples, meaning it's usually going to be used as an accent color, unlike red or even gold. Human skin tone also isn't going to change, so you're pairing the hair color against the base values of the human body at the same time. Green, for example, doesn't pair so well with skin tone as a hair color, not without a lot of work. Usually whenever I see it working well on someone in real life, it's because it's being used as an accent on black hair. Even with Piccolo, who arguably is using orange in his new... What was his name again? Oh god, I forgot. He literally just named it Orange Piccolo. What a turd. At least call it his Ajisa form or something. Those are those cute little trees that the Nameks raise, by the way. Or his dragon form? Anyway. Its color is all set very strongly with other colors. It isn't just orange. Hell, his arms are just red. Brown shadows, light yellow, whatever his arm padding thing is. Red eyes. They're doing a lot of visual cheating, which helps a lot. I imagine they went with orange both because it hadn't been utilized yet, and because his clothing is purple. You know what the complementary color of the purple is? It's yellow, again. But you know what green's complementary color is? Orange! No, just kidding, that's red. But a reddish orange. Yes! Color theory! Man, artists are so smart. So what colors are left? Not enough. So I think in the future, you're going to see more unusual hairstyles, eye colors, and maybe even skin tone changes or clothing. Yep, this is where we're at. We're rubbing pennies together now. For kids watching the future, we used to have a currency called a penny that was used to buy small things like candy once upon a time. You can probably still find some on a railroad track somewhere. Don't go there though, that's dangerous. Why do you listen to me? Anyway, I think they're doing an okay job at the moment with the newer forms. They're weird, still kinda cool, a little embarrassing, and recognizable without being over-designed, and marketable, which is harder to do than you'd think. It's hard to make money these days. Thanks for watching my artist video about Dragon Ball. I know you love Dragon Ball. I've got a Patreon and it sustains me to a degree in these trying times. I'll see you next time.